All right, so here it is, iPhone 17 Pro. Just picked it up today, and we're gonna do a little bit of an unboxing and first impressions. If you guys can hear some like construction or something like that going on in the background, sorry about that. It's a bit busy going on in the neighborhood right now. But let's get into it. Okay, so the box, the phone itself. All right, USB-C cable, and a bit of paperwork, and that's about it. All right. So, the iPhone itself. This is the 17 Pro. Um, and man, this orange is striking. I can't lie to you. When I was ordering, I was debating on whether or not I would go full like blue or the white color because they're more neutral. But I've been, trying to add a bit more color into my wardrobe. So getting something that was bright, that kind of stood out, was super interesting to me. And right now, actually, I have an old iPhone 13 that I've been using. When I hold these together, this I can feel the extra heft. Like this does feel like a heavier phone, thickness wise. So actually, when you compare these side by side, the 13 right here weighs 174 grams or 6.14 ounces. And then the 17 Pro weighs 206 grams or 7.27 ounces. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a noticeable difference. And I specifically went for the Pro and not the Pro Max because I like the lighter phones. And the smaller phones, I've got small hands. And so trying to do that reach around that you would have to do um, on like the Pro Max and things like that just wasn't feasible. But this new look, it's interesting. They kind of went for the two-tone. They went back to aluminum. Um, and I like it, honestly. I know it's pretty controversial. There's people who love it, people who hate it, really. I haven't seen anyone who's kind of neutral on it. Um, and I think going back to the aluminum was a good choice. They mentioned how with the addition of the vapor chamber, it's kind of, and the aluminum body, it's kind of helped them dissipate heat better. We'll see how that stacks up in the long term. But I mean, it looks great. I think the orange is really cool. It stands out. It's a pretty big pop. And when I compare it to my old iPhone 13 that has definitely seen better days, um, it looks a lot cooler. It stands out a lot more. So I'm excited to use this one and kind of see how it goes. I'm going to take a couple shots, go around, just use it a tiny bit and give you some first impressions of how I feel about it. So I've spent some time with the iPhone 17 Pro and I've got some thoughts. So obviously, if you've had a phone within the past 2 years, maybe even more, a lot of these changes I'm going to mention aren't new to you, but I'm just mentioning what's new to me after coming from a 13. So first things first, the ProMotion display. I mean, it's so smooth. I can barely tell. I'm not barely tell. Sorry, I can tell that it's at 120 hertz, and it feels significantly smoother. When I'm scrolling around, it's a lot more legible. That kind of thing. And as someone who can notice this kind of thing, because I know some people notice it, some people don't. I've gotten pretty used to it. I've got 120 hertz TV, my MacBook Pro, my PC monitors. They're all at least 120 or higher. And so my phone was kind of one of the last things that was holding me back. And I'm glad to have it. Next, while I was shooting outdoors, taking a couple pictures and videos, having that higher brightness was super noticeable. On the regular iPhone 13, I believe it maxes out at 800 typical. And then for outdoor use, it's about 1200 if you're using like HDR and that kind of thing. Um, which really isn't that bright, especially when it's in direct sunlight. But I was outside. This thing goes up to 3000 nits of max brightness outdoors. And it was really useful. I was able to see everything pretty clearly. Didn't have any issues reading or just scrolling through and watching content, etc. Um, But next thing I noticed was the cameras. So let's look at some footage that I took. All right. So first things first, we've got a picture out in the garden. Tried to make it so that you could see some highlights, some dark areas, and we're zooming in. Looks extremely clear. I think you can really tell where you can actually tell exactly where it decided to focus. So this part of the image is a little blurry because it decided to focus back here, and also back here. But overall, the picture looks really good. The highlights are done well. The colors are pretty, actually a lot more vibrant than I was expecting. I know in recent years, iPhone has kind of went to a more muted style of color, but it looks like they're kind of bringing it back a little bit. It's a bit more pop than I was expecting. The dark areas still have detail. It's not like everything was lost, which I do appreciate. But I think overall this is a pretty good image out of the main sensor. Um, Similar. I just took a couple different versions of the same picture. A selfie. So as I mentioned, or I haven't mentioned yet, but all the cameras on the rear use a 48 megapixel sensor for the wide, the main wide, the ultra wide, and the telephoto. And on the front facing camera, they're using an 18 megapixel, what they call center stage camera. And essentially what that means is for most phones, they use a rectangular sensor for their front facing camera, which means when you're taking direct portrait images, it's totally fine. It looks how you would expect. But when you start to do landscape to fit more people in the selfie, you have to hold your phone like this, and that's what most people are used to these days. But on this specific iPhone, as well as I think all the iPhones of the 17 lineup, they moved to a square sensor, and they also upped the megapixel count from 12 to 18. The more important part is the square sensor, because now they can still do the rectangular portrait images totally fine, but because it's a square sensor, when they do landscape images, they can just crop the square sensor to give you landscape images, but from a portrait orientation. And it's a lot more comfortable to hold your phone like this because when you're looking directly at the camera, it looks a lot better. It actually looks like you're looking directly at the camera, and it's a lot easier to kind of stretch your hand out and hold your phone this way, which I think is super useful and kind of dummy proofs the camera a bit more, which is something that Apple's always looking to do. So this image right here looks pretty solid. Overall, I mean, now that I'm looking at it, actually, it's nothing crazy, especially if you come from a previous phone. What you're noticing is not improvements in quality, at least at the moment. This is iOS 26.0. They just released it, so maybe with future iterations, it'll look better. But it still looks really good. So if you have a 16 series camera, as far as quality is concerned, you're not missing out. Um, the dark spots still have detail. Everything is in focus. The bright spots aren't blown out. The colors look really good. It got my skin tone pretty much perfectly. Everything looks as good as I would expect. And the really cool part is when we go to, like I mentioned, the landscape center stage camera or center stage usage of the front facing camera. So I'm holding my phone in portrait orientation in this image. And it looks like I'm not. And it looks a lot more clear that I'm holding it in portrait orientation because my face and eyes are looking directly at the camera. And a lot of times when you'll see people do the kind of awkward landscape thing is that they're holding it and their eyes are looking at the camera, but their face isn't correctly centered because most of the time they're either looking directly at the camera or looking at themselves in the screen, and it just looks a little off. And we've kind of all gotten used to that, but when you look at them back to back, you can notice the difference. So I think that is a really cool feature, honestly. And then here's some video. This is how iPhone 17 Pro looks. Testing out video and the mics. Video has always been the iPhone's strong suit. A lot of cameras, we're talking about the Pixel series from Google, the Samsung Galaxy S25 now. They've all gotten photos pretty down pat, but for some reason, video has been kind of where they've struggled on Android. And it's not like they're bad. They're still all really good. But iPhone has kind of cemented its spot as like the video king, while also still having competitive photo quality cameras, photo characteristics across all those top flagships. And so when it comes to the video and everything, it looks great. Obviously, these are just first impressions. I'm going to go dive deep into each camera, photo, video, ProRes, regular, etc. in the full review. These are just some quick first impressions. Another thing I wanted to mention that might be a little underrated, and I don't think a lot of people will care as much, is actually the minimum brightness. I tend to use my phone a lot in bed, especially before I go to sleep. And the lowest brightness on the regular 13s, I don't have the exact number as far as nits is concerned, but it's not low enough. And so, even though I have it as low as I possibly can, I'm still kind of blasting my face with light. And so having a phone that can go down to 1 nit is actually super useful for me. And I know that's actually really good for like sleep cycles and things like that. Having something dim, well, honestly, the best thing would be to not use my phone at all. And we're getting there, but in the meantime, having something like this is super useful. And I guess last but not least is the battery life. Obviously, this is just an early impression, so I can't really gauge battery life yet, but Apple's video playback metric isn't exactly the most accurate, but for this specific metric, it lists the iPhone 13 at 19 hours of video playback and the 17 Pro at 33. And 33 hours is exactly what the 16 Pro Max, the larger one of last year, was quoted at. So as far as battery gains, they're more or less saying that the iPhone is at least, give or take 40% or so better than the regular 13. We'll see realistically what that means in the real life. I'll do some battery testing, kind of give you guys an idea of what to expect. And I know a lot of you guys aren't people who update year to year, and so that's why I wanted to really compare it to my iPhone 13, because a lot of people are on that 12 or 13 and have kind of been waiting for something worthy enough to upgrade to. And so I definitely think if you're on that kind of 12, 13 section or area of iPhones, it's definitely worth it to go up to that 17 Pro. Or actually, no, specifically, I think it's worth it to go to the 17. That's actually a phenomenal deal. I think everyone should go for the 17 over the Pro, unless you specifically need that better camera, and you also want the battery and things like that. But if you do need that, you know who you are. Everyone else, the 17 at $800 is a phenomenal deal. And yeah, I got the phones in now. I'm going to take my time with it, just to let you guys know how I feel. In the review should be coming up in the next video, or the one after that. I have another one ready to go, so we'll see, depending on how I feel about it. But yeah, other than that, I'll see you guys later.